Alrighty. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about our Week 14 starter sit questions. For those of you guys who have questions over the course of today's live stream, as I'll be conducting this for the next 2 hours, if you guys have a question, be sure to go ahead and let me know what your scoring format is. Whether you send it in via Super Chat, whether you send it in via the live chat, your scoring format definitely makes a huge difference. Hope you guys are doing well on this beautiful Saturday. It's a little chilly outside, but you know, I guess on the West Coast, it's a little chilly outside. On the East Coast for this weekend, it's going to be like a rainstorm. The weather is going to be a disaster in some of these games. So as we progress throughout today's live stream, we'll, of course, talk about a multitude of different players. Hopefully, I can answer your question. If I'm not able to, do not forget that tomorrow morning, starting at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time up until kickoff, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be here live streaming on the channel with updated rankings on screen. So keep that in mind. Again, I'm going to get right into answering questions immediately because there are so many that have already stacked up. Hope you guys are doing well. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. It's greatly appreciated. Continuing to support the channel in that regard. About halfway through the stream, we'll go ahead and put together a couple pick'em slips for this upcoming weekend via Underdog Fantasy. So for those of you guys who want my rankings going into Sunday morning, be sure to go ahead, check out the link down in the description. Use code Andrew. First time deposit, minimum of $10. Not only will you get the rankings every single Sunday, and of course, Saturday of week 15 and 16, because there's, of course, Saturday games upcoming for next week. This time next week, actually not even this time next week, next Saturday morning, we will be live streaming early because there are 3 Saturday games for the fantasy football playoffs. So keep that in mind. Either way, welcome. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let's get into answering some questions, shall we? The first super chat question came in from Nathan Salazar. Nathan, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it, my man. Nathan says the following, says 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Who would you start? I have Puka, Waddle, Adams, Achane, Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson in a full PPR scoring format. Also, you think Fields can help win the ship? Okay, so let's answer the first question first and foremost. So 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Out of the group, the 2 running backs that I would play are Achane and Bijan Robinson. The 2 wide receivers I would play would be Waddle and Adams. And then I would play Gibbs in the flex, primarily because Puka Nacua is implicated to be in a game against Baltimore Sunday morning, where it's going to be it's 100% chance of rain. Like, the expectation is that that's going to be a rain game and that throwing the ball is going to be very difficult for both offenses. So I've already gone ahead and adjusted and moved these players down accordingly. So out of the group, yeah, Puka would be the player that I bench out of all the guys you have there, Nathan. Thank you again. The Ocho sends in a question. Oh yeah, sorry. Before I even finish off there, your last question, the kind of the final thought you said is, do you think Justin Fields can win me the chip? The only thing that in my mind concerns me about Justin Fields is week 15. Week 15, he takes on Cleveland, in Cleveland. If the weather's a disaster, on top of the fact that Cleveland at home as a defense plays significantly better. I think like on the road, they're allowing like over 25 points per game as of late this season. Of course, we've seen it most recently. I mean, even if you go back to the game against Indy earlier this year, they got like 30 points dropped on them. Of course, just this last week in LA, got 30 points dropped on them. On the road as a defense, they're not great. They've obviously had a couple injuries here and there, but at home, they're a stud defense, and that would concern me with Justin Fields, especially with his offensive line not being the best quality. I think the last time Justin Fields took on the Cleveland Browns, if I'm not mistaken, I think Myles Garrett had like a sack. Was it Myles Garrett that had a sack record in that game? Like, he had like 6 sacks. I don't know. I think something of that extent happened. But yeah, that would be my only concern, week 15. So maybe you have another quarterback to help you for the first week of the fantasy playoffs, unless you have a bye week. And then week 16, 17, you should be fine. Thank you again, Nathan. Appreciate it. The Ocho sends in a question, says half PPR, need 1 wide receiver and 1 flex out of the following. We have Olave, Jaden Reed, Downs, Ford, Mitchell. Okay, so out of those players, we know that Derek Carr yesterday cleared the concussion protocol. We know that Olave had been missing practices over the course of the week due to an illness. He is ready to go, and so is Derek Carr. Somehow Derek Carr, for 2 times already this season, he has cleared concussion protocol within 5 days, which is extremely rare, but he's done it. Nonetheless, Chris Olave will be your starting wide receiver. In a half PPR scoring format, if you want ultimate upside, I think Keaton Mitchell provides that. If not, we would then just play Jaden Reed there. I think Jaden Reed's probably the safest player outside of Olave there in that circumstance to be your flex option. But yeah, if you want like the potential for, hey, yeah, it's going to be a little bit risky. You may get 8 points or you may get 18 points. that's the Keaton Mitchell play. I would like to, risk it with that, but I guess it just depends on how your matchup looks and how your team looks at the moment. Thank you, Ocho. Your follow-up question, number 2, was Goff or Fields this week. Between the two of them, I'd like to play Justin Fields. Just because of the rushing upside, assuming you're in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. On top of that, you had another question, says, I need one flex one flex in the second league, Ford or Keaton Mitchell. Yeah, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, as of Tuesday's running back video, I had Keaton Mitchell ranked higher. I would continue to sustain that ranking of having him as the higher ranked player going into this week. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Old J Running. Old J, thank you very much. It says, PPR pick 3, we have Breece Hall, we have Keaton Mitchell, we have Mostert, and we have CEH. Ooh, okay, so we know for a fact that the New York Jets game against the Houston Texans is going to be a rain game, to say the very least. We know that the Baltimore Ravens game against the LA Rams is going to be a rain game. So both Hall and Mitchell are kind of in tricky scenarios there. Raheem Mostert, my only concern with him is that, let's say, for example, the Miami Dolphins go throughout the entirety of the first half, and he doesn't score a touchdown. Let's say it goes to everyone else. Maybe Achane scores a touchdown in the first half. Maybe it's Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, anybody, Cedric Wilson, Braxton Berrios, anybody could score. My concern is if in fact we get into a position in which this team takes a pretty sustainable lead early in the first half, they're not going to play Raheem Mostert in the second half. He's an older running back. They don't want to go ahead and just run him into the ground. He's not the guy that they would do that with. They would utilize far more Achane and Jeff Wilson Jr. in the second half of that game. So that's my biggest concern there. As of right now, between the bunch, I probably end up sending out there. I'd probably play Keaton Mitchell and CEH, to be honest. Those are the two that I'd probably roll with there this week. If I could get a guarantee that Mostert falls into the end zone, he would be the automatic start alongside of CEH. But I don't think I can get that guarantee. So the risk itself just scares me to the point where I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather just not even take the risk. Let's see here. We got a new update. What does it say? Dre Greenlaw. Okay, that's fine. That's not a big deal. Okay, moving on. Wonton sends in a question. Thank you very much, Wonton. Says, who's your 1, 2, 3 between Gerald Everett, Tyler Conklin, and Zay Jones? Between the three of those players, I would go number 1, Zay Jones. Number 2, assuming, the weather is going to be a disaster in New York, and I don't really trust Zach Wilson in those kind of capacities either. So I'd probably go Zay Jones 1, Gerald Everett 2, Tyler Conklin 3 at the moment. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Tommy Vu. Tommy, thank you very much. It says, full PPR, start 4 out of 5. We have Bijan, we have Chris Olave, we have Devontae Adams, we have Zach Moss, we have Devon Achane. Thanks, Andrew. Okay. We're starting 4 out of 5 in a full PPR. So Devon Achane has to play. I think Bijan Robinson also has to play. I think Chris Olave has to play. And then it just becomes a question between Devontae Adams and Zach Moss. Zach Moss takes on Cincinnati. They're not the best run-stop defense in the National Football League. Devontae Adams, coming off the bye week, they've got a solid matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, Devontae Adams had himself a pretty good fair share of matchups against the Minnesota Vikings throughout his career. Let me think about this. In a full PPR, he catches the ball. Unless he scores a touchdown, I don't actually see him outscoring Zach Moss. So for now, I'd probably go Olave, Bijan, Achane, and Moss. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Slowpocalypse, who says, PPR, choose one in the flex, T. Higgins or Gus Edwards. That's a pretty good question. In a PPR scoring format, I feel like T. Higgins at a base minimum should be like 4 catches, 40 yards, 5 catches, 50 yards. So like 8 to 10 points base minimum. On the opposite side, it's a matter of like, can Gus Edwards in a split backfield with 2 other running backs who get themselves touches be able to get himself anything more than like 12 fantasy points? I mean, if they're running the ball the whole game, he gets, let's say, for example, he gets 60 rushing yards and a touchdown. Is he going to be able to outproduce that over the course of the game if Keaton Mitchell is digging into his workload? Probably not. I probably end up playing T. Higgins there in a full PPR format. If it's a half PPR, I would take the risk of playing. And I don't even think it would be a risk. I would just take the guarantee of points that Gus Edwards would provide in that circumstance. But yeah, in a full PPR, I'd probably pivot towards T. Higgins there. Thank you. Cardiac Johnson sends in a question. Says, I need a quarterback too. My options are Levis, Geno, Flacco, and Browning. Okay, so here's the issue. First and foremost, Geno Smith is dealing with a groin injury. They elevated a practice squad quarterback, Sean Mannion, earlier today. That is never a good sign whenever you elevate another quarterback. So he's questionable, already dealing with an injury. Out of the rest of the guys, as of right now, I have Jake Browning ranked the highest. So I go probably Browning number 1. Most likely, assuming Flacco plays, Flacco 2, Geno 3, Levis 4. It would probably go in that order. So Jake Browning would be the start. Cardiac, thank you. I'm Gucci, sends it a question, says, PPR, I'm 8-5 and I'm in 3rd place. I need a win for the bye week without Jonathan Taylor. Looking for upside, playing second place this week against Tyreek Hill. My flex options are Godwin, Mitchell, Addison, or CEH. Thanks. Okay, so PPR between those 4 options, I don't want to play Addison very much. I don't really want to play Mitchell in a full PPR scoring format. So it's between. I'd probably end up playing CEH there. If it's my team, that's probably the direction I go in. GV sends in a question. Says Lockett, Sutton, Myers, or Reed. Pick 2. All right, Cortland Sutton has to play. The guy's a touchdown machine. Consistently gets himself, 1 touchdown on a pretty good basis. I mean, I think, 83% of the games he's played this season, he has scored at least 1 touchdown. Like that is too good of a number to pass up on. Considering I don't really love the matchup for Tyler Lockett taking on that San Francisco 49ers defense, it would be between Myers and Jaden Reed. Considering Christian Watson is out for tomorrow's game, I would lean towards Jaden Reed as the number 2. So Sutton and Reed. Thank you very much, GV. Gung Ho Joe sends in a question. Says Henry or Olave and a half PPR. I would probably play Chris Olave. Yeah, I mean, the hope would be that Derrick Henry could score himself 2 touchdowns early in that game, and there would be no questions asked. Like he's getting himself 16 plus fantasy points in the first half, and we're just clean to go. But I don't actually see that being like an automatic, especially going up against that Miami Dolphins defense. I think they really are a good defense. It would be tough for Derrick Henry, especially in a negative game script, to come away with a better performance in my mind. So I would go with Chris Olave there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Daniel Cap Keenan says, guys, I know this is football, but Ohtani gets $700 million. Yeah, it's crazy, right? My Dodgers, man, they are literally backing up the Brinks truck in order to get him to stay in Los Angeles. Well, actually, no, go from Anaheim, come over to Los Angeles and play for the Dodgers. Love to see it. Look, that's the thing about baseball, right? Do they even have a salary cap? It doesn't feel like they have a salary cap. They're paying one guy $70 million a year. Either way, we love it. As a Dodgers fan, I mean, when you get the best player in baseball, it seems like a great day for me. All right, moving on. We had a question that came in from Joe Lozano. Joe, thank you very much. Says, I need one in a full PPR. Jerick McKinnon, CEH, Keaton Mitchell, Kenneth Walker, or Jordan Addison. Okay. As of right now, if Kenneth Walker plays, if he's active, I would like to play him out of the bunch. Yeah, that would be the primary suggestion. If in fact Kenneth Walker is not available, we'd pivot to CEH. Follow-up question from you, Joe, says, do I play Drake London or Amari Cooper? I believe Amari Cooper is set to clear the concussion protocol, and I know he's been dealing with a little bit of a rib injury, but even with the rib injury last week, still ended up playing against the LA Rams. If in fact Amari Cooper is active for this weekend's game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think that secondary is a pretty solid matchup. So I'd probably end up playing him with, assuming Joe Flacco is a starting quarterback. They haven't named a starting quarterback yet. It's kind of still up in the air. Kevin Stefanski wants to be a little bit secretive. Under the assumption that Joe Flacco does play, it would be Amari Cooper. If in fact somehow, some way they, pivot to playing DTR there at quarterback, considering he's cleared his concussion protocol, I would then play Drake London against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you, Joe. Oh, okay. You had one more question. It says Browns or Ravens defense for this week. Trevor Lawrence is playing, so I'd probably end up playing the Ravens defense there. Thank you again. OJ Running had a follow-up question. Says pick 2 in a PPR. McLaurin. Well, McLaurin doesn't play this week. Higgins and Nakua. So, yeah, McLaurin doesn't play this week. So Higgins and Nakua are the play. Thank you, OJ. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. We scroll down. We have Ricky. Ricky Canales sends in a question. Says, which 2 should I start at running back? Kenneth Walker, Bijan Robinson, I'm assuming, because Brian Robinson's on bye week. Chuba Hubbard, Saquon Barkley, or So you mentioned B-Rob twice. I'm going to assume that you know that Brian Robinson's on bye week and that Bijan is good to go. But maybe you just mentioned it twice. Either way, which two should I start at running back? Bijan Robinson has to start. Alongside of him, I mean, I'd have a hard time not playing Saquon there as the RB2. So that would be it. I'd go Bijan and Saquon. Should I keep Metcalf in my flex or sub him for one of these RBs? That's a really good question. If Geno Smith is... Okay, so let's just put it this way. If Geno Smith is not active, obviously you would pivot, right? And you would play Chuba Hubbard in your flex. But as of right now, no. I would keep it as is. Thank you. Riff sends in a question. Says, CH, McKinnon, Elijah Moore, or Drake London? I need two. Okay, out of the four, if it's like a half PPR scoring format, I'd play CEH and I'd play Drake London. Thank you. Appreciate it, Riff. Much appreciated. Okay, really quickly, just want to go ahead and give you all an update. For those of you who are joining us this afternoon, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. We've only been live for about 15 minutes now. Again, we're just answering a couple questions that have been sent in via the super chat. I'll get to the live chat as soon as I possibly can. Hope you guys are doing well. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a favor, click the like button down below. Certainly helps support the channel. Okay, so I see in the chat there's a couple questions. Someone said like Breece Hall or Cooper Kupp. Again, if the weather there tomorrow in Baltimore is a complete disaster, and again, we won't know until tomorrow morning, but the assumption is based on all the weather reports that I trust and I've utilized over the course of the last couple seasons and that I can look to and say, hey, yeah, this has been far more consistent than not in terms of weather conditions. It seems to me like tomorrow's game in Baltimore is going to be a disaster and in New York. So when it's like a Kupp versus a Breece Hall, even though Breece Hall hasn't played well, I would typically lean towards playing the running back in a weather game in which it's raining and there's 17-mile-per-hour winds. You know what I mean? So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of a understanding as to where I'd go. Okay, moving on. GV had a question. Thank you, GV. Says, would you consider Elijah Moore over Travis Etienne in a full PPR scoring format? The only time I would ever consider that is in a full PPR scoring format and if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play tomorrow. Outside of that overall circumstance, no, I would still play Travis Etienne there. Thank you. David C21 says, Andrew, which defense this week? Vikings, Colts, or Cowboys? Okay, I'm not playing the Cowboys defense. So it's between the Vikings and the Colts. I would probably Vikings versus the Raiders or okay, who do I have ranked highest? If I go to my Patreon rankings from Thursday, I had the Minnesota Vikings as my number 11 defense on Thursday and the Colts as my number 8. So I'd probably just keep it as is. I'd play the Colts defense there. I also really like the Colts remaining season schedule. And of course, as of late, if you guys just look at their fantasy points scored, they're doing a lot. I mean, obviously last week they're blocking punts for touchdowns and causing a lot of turnovers and havoc. But yeah, I mean, if that defense continues to play as well as they have, I don't see why that shouldn't be a play. Nick sends in a question. Thank you, Nick. Nick Papa Giorgio, that's the name, says T. Higgins versus Romeo Doubs full PPR. Yeah, considering the fact that Christian Watson has already been deemed out with the hamstring injury, like I mentioned yesterday in regards to my well, yeah, I think it's a little bit different considering you're asking for a full PPR, but nonetheless, yesterday I had a Hidden Gems episode. In that episode, I had, Romeo Doubs as one of my primary Hidden Gems options for the given week, under the assumption that, of course, Christian Watson was going to miss. Thus far this season, from weeks 1 through 4, in the games in which, of course, Christian Watson was either limited, like playing 20% of the snaps, or inactive outright, Romeo Doubs was getting himself 5 receptions, 56 yards, and had scored 3 touchdowns in the first 4 games of the season, 12.6 half PPR fantasy points per game. In a full PPR, that's an extra. I mean, at that point in a full PPR, it's like 14 fantasy points when Christian Watson's not in the lineup. So my assumption is going into the game against the New York Giants, considering how well Jordan Love's been playing, yeah, I would take Romeo Doubs head over heels over T. Higgins as the alternative option. As for your follow-up question, Papa Giorgio, says Jets defense or Colts defense? Jets defense versus the Houston Texans in the weather. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll take the Jets defense there. I don't have a problem with that at all. The follow-up question, you have Flacco or Mayfield. Who do I start? Mayfield takes on Atlanta. Flacco takes on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do I have ranked higher? If I'm not mistaken, I probably have Flacco slightly ahead of him. Let me check. I have Flacco literally right behind him. So I have Mayfield as 20 and Flacco at 21. So I have Mayfield just ahead of him. So we'll just lean in that direction. We'll go with Mayfield, especially considering we don't even know if Flacco's starting. I mean, we could wake up tomorrow and they say DTR is the starter, and I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, for right now, Romeo Dobbs, Nick, along with the Jets defense and Baker Mayfield. Thank you. Moving on to X Reese 2010 says, who do I start in the flex? Monty, Flowers, or Nico Collins versus the Jets in the rain? Full PPR. Yeah, so both Zay Flowers and Nico Collins dealing with rain conditions. I would just lean in the direction of playing Montgomery. Revenge game against his former team, the Chicago Bears. Last time out against that team, put up over 15 fantasy points. So I lean in that direction. Thank you. All right. C. Ellis sends in a question. Says, start 3 half PPR scoring format. CEH, Godwin, Keaton Mitchell, JSN, Zay Jones, or Calvin Ridley, with and without Trevor Lawrence. Even with Trevor Lawrence, I don't trust Calvin Ridley against Denzel Ward. The secondary of the Cleveland Browns plays the most man coverage amongst all teams in the National Football League this season. So I'm assuming that they're going to have Denzel Ward just shadowing Calvin Ridley for, I think if I'm not mistaken, they play man coverage like 47, 48% of the time. So half of the game he's going to be shadowed. I mean, there are going to be opportunities here and there where he'll get targets where he's not going to be covered by a guy like Denzel Ward. But even then, Calvin Ridley's a sketchy option. Out of the bunch in a half PPR, if it's my team, I probably end up suggesting, I'd probably end up rolling with CEH, Godwin, and Keaton Mitchell. I like JSN, but the questionable nature of Geno Smith has me a little bit hesitant right now. So I'd go with the top 3 options you have there. CEH, Keaton Mitchell, Chris Godwin. Thank you. Dorsey 5001. Thank you very much. Says, what's up, Andrew? Both full PPR. Justin Herbert or Jordan Love. I'd rather have Jordan Love over Justin Herbert. Also, Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore. Considering the weather for the New York Jets game, I'd probably end up pivoting towards playing Elijah Moore there, under the assumption that it's going to be a terrible weather game. If the weather by tomorrow morning is sustainable, yes, I would much rather play Garrett Wilson because I do believe he has a higher chance not only for targets, but of course receptions, receiving yards, etc. Not touchdown upside, but I don't really think that Elijah Moore has touchdown upside either. Let's see here. A couple of questions. Let's scroll back up. All right. So I see that there is a there's a bot in the chat spamming. I'll try to ban that. Sorry, guys. I think I took care of it. I did take care of it. All right, cool. 70 million a year just to lose in the first round of the Giants. You're not wrong. I mean, you're not wrong. Not at all, man. You're not wrong. Don't worry. Like, I know that we're not the greatest team. Oh man. Let me just text somebody real quick. All right. Let me scroll back up here. I saw a question that I wanted to answer that I kind of scrolled past. So we took care of those. We took care of Dorsey. Okay, so after Dorsey, there was Joe Santo in the chat was saying Russell Wilson or CJ Stroud. I'd rather play Russell Wilson there against the Chargers. Charlene says, hopefully there's no spider. No. Yeah, I took care of the spider. Don't worry about it. It's gone. After the stream, I had to go for I was hunting it down on Sunday, but I eventually found it. Tyrone Jenkins in the chat says, I need one to start in a full PPR. Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, or Austin Eckler. If I'm only starting one of those 4 options, I'd have a hard time not playing Kyron Williams there. Yeah, I would probably say it'd be safer to play Bijan Robinson. Yeah, it would probably be safer to play Bijan Robinson in a full PPR, considering he gets more exposure to receiving opportunities. But for right now, I probably go Bijan, Kyron, Montgomery, Eckler in that order in a full PPR. So if you're sitting one, I'm sitting. I mean, it's crazy to say, but I'm sitting Eckler going into this week. Yeah, it's a tough play. Let's see here. Sean in the chat was saying, I sat Ezekiel Elliott. I have Mixon, Moss, and Kamara. Should I sit one for Aaron Jones if he plays? No, I wouldn't play Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is going to be limited even if he's active on Monday. Also, you won't know until he's active on Monday. And considering you have Mixon, Moss, and Kamara, who all play on Sunday, you should fire them up. Don't worry about Aaron Jones. If he ends up playing, fantastic. Let's just hope he stays healthy. Leo sends in a question. Leo Bolana says, PPR, pick 2, Elijah Moore, OBJ, Josh Downs, Noah Brown, or Wicks from the Green Bay Packers. Okay, so of the group, in a PPR, assuming Amari Cooper is inactive, I would play Elijah Moore there. pretty easily. If that is not going to be the case, considering, actually, you know what? Considering the weather is as bad as it is, assuming that like OBJ can't catch the ball and Noah Brown can't either because of the weather, it would be Elijah Moore and Josh Downs there as the number 1 and 2 option, Leo. If the weather by tomorrow morning, about 9 a.m. is clear, and we can get into a position in which it's not going to be a heavy rain game in New York and Baltimore, then I'd rather play OBJ and Noah Brown over the rest of the options that you went ahead and had on screen. So thank you, Leo. Appreciate it. Michael Barton sends in a question. Michael, hope you're doing well. It says PPR, pick one. Okay, so it says PPR, question 1. Pick 2 running backs in a flex. We have Keaton Mitchell, Josh Jacobs, Raheem Mostert, and of course Aaron Jones, CEH, and Jerick McKinnon. So Jacobs has to play as the RB1. The RB2 out of this group probably ends up being in a PPR. I think I'm okay. So considering Aaron Jones doesn't play until Monday, I'm not taking the risk there. I'm not taking the risk with Jerick McKinnon. He's a lower end RB3. As of right now, Michael, it's probably like Jacobs, Mostert, and CEH. As for your second question, Everett or Brevin Jordan, the matchup for Gerald Everett is just significantly better. And considering there's already implicated rain game for the Texans in New York, I'd probably just lean towards playing Gerald Everett there as your tight end. Thank you. Rockout sends in a question, says PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex. Okay, so 1 running back, 1 flex. Seattle Seahawks running backs, Javonte Williams, Keaton Mitchell, Jaden Reed, or JSN. Okay, so this is the way that I would approach it. If Kenneth Walker is active, I'd play him. If he's inactive and Zach Charbonnet is active, I'd play him. If both those guys are, active, it doesn't matter. I'd still lean in the direction of playing Kenneth Walker over Zach Charbonnet. Now, with that all established, if they're both inactive under the assumption, I would then pivot to probably playing, let's see, full PPR. If they're both inactive, it would go to Javonte Williams, number 1, and Jaden Reed, number 2. But if, in fact, we're in a position in which the Seattle Seahawks running backs are active rockout, I would play Kenneth Walker and Javonte Williams. Thank you. All right, Marvin Lewis sends in a question. Marvin, hope you're doing well. Thank you. Says standard. Who do I start, Swift or Cooks in the flex? Oof, I would probably end up playing Brandon Cooks there in a standard scoring format. If I'm just basing it off like I need touchdown upside, because yardage again for the both of them are relatively going to be equal, I'd probably end up playing Brandon Cooks there. Also, did you already do rest of your picks on Underdog? No, I haven't done that yet. That'll be later on, about I'd say 30 minutes from now. Marvin, thank you, appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Let's scroll down. We had a question that came in from Ricky Canales again. Says, let me rephrase. Which 2 should I start at running back? Kenneth Walker, Moss, Hubbard, Saquon. Which 2 should you start? Yeah, I'd go with Moss and Saquon. Thank you. Should I keep Metcalf in the flex or sub him out for one of these running backs? No, I keep it as is. You're good to go. Thank you. Dominic Bueno sends in a question. Says, Hubbard or Eckler? Oh, baby. Considering we're getting that information where like, oh, the Chargers are considering utilizing Joshua Kelly more going forward. At that point, like, it's tough to say, but I think I'd rather play Hubbard right now. I know he's going to get himself a high volume of touches. I mean, and at least he's going to be efficient with them. I can't guarantee that with Eckler, especially considering like if Eckler was inefficient on the ground, but was getting himself 7 catches a game, we'd have no problem here, but he's not getting that utilization either. So for right now, it would be Hubbard. Also, follow-up question from Dominic says, Rice, Cooper, Reed, I need 1 in a full PPR. I'd probably just play Rashee Rice there out of the group. Thank you. OJ Running sends in a question, says PPR, pick 1, Breece Hall, T. Higgins, Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert. In a PPR, if I'm playing one of the bunch, I'd probably end up playing Breece Hall there. I know he's going to catch himself the ball like 5 to 6 times. If at any point throughout that game he has any semblance of success on the ground or ends up making a play through the air in which he can score a touchdown or gain any yardage, I think he'd probably be the more valuable prospect out of the bunch. So I'd go with Breece Hall there. Thank you. Zane sends in a question, says half PPR, start 3, Achane, Mostert, Olave, Jacobs. All right, so out of the bunch, I would go Achan, Olave, and Jacobs. Thank you, Zane. Appreciate it. Alrighty, here. Let's scroll back up. After Zane's question, we had one from Eric Foreman. Eric, thank you very much. Says PPR flex, CEH, Godwin, JSN, Edwards, Charbonnet. In a PPR scoring format, if I'm only playing one of the bunch, I probably lean towards playing. I don't want to play Edwards in a full PPR. I don't really want to play Charbonnet, considering I do expect Kenneth Walker to be active, primarily because he had a full participation in practice on Friday. There's still a chance where he could be inactive, but I think he will be. So Edwards and Charbonnet are kind of out of my mind in this circumstance. Between CH, Godwin, and JSN, I really do like the utilization in which JSN got last week. I don't know how sustainable it is, especially against San Francisco 49ers defense. So for now, I'd probably end up playing CH, number 1, Godwin 2, JSN 3, Edwards 4, Charbonnet 5. Thank you. Let's see. Your Hood in the chat was saying Steelers or Texans rest of season, as in their defense. Let me check. Steelers schedule. I mean, look, if the Steelers team that played on Thursday continues to play, for the rest of the season, I would drop them, because that defense was awful. I mean, they let, and this isn't even exaggerated, there were only 3 wide receivers left on the New England Patriots roster. Literally 3. It was Juju, Tyquan Thornton, and Jalen Reagor that were healthy. That was it. Nobody else was healthy. And with 3, hobbled wide receivers, which Juju Smith is, he's a hobbled wide receiver. His knees are pretty much cooked. This might be his last year playing. They still ended up doing a lot of damage, which is just ridiculous. And of course, Hunter Henry, welcome back. Between the two, I'd probably end up playing the Texans defense rest of the season. The only thing that I would ever concern about is those revenge games for DeAndre Hopkins against his former team. That would be one to keep an eye on, but still, I would roll in that direction. Let's see here. Ryan Haley sends in a question. Says PPR, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and 2 flex options. We have Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, Javonte Williams, James Cook, Nico, Puka, London. Okay, so of those options, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. Rashad White has to play. Jahmyr Gibbs has to play. I think probably James Cook would play as the second flex. So it would go like Rashad White as the RB1, Gibbs and James Cook as the flex options. And then at wide receiver, if tomorrow's rain game is a disaster and Nico Collins, Puka Nacua are not going to be viable options, I just play Drake London there as your wide receiver 1. But if, one of those 2 games in New York or in Baltimore, the weather clears up a little bit, we can change it in the morning. And I would prefer to play Nico out of the bunch if, in fact, the weather clears. Thank you. Moving on to Meh Turtle, who says, flex, full PPR, Judy, Mitchell, CEH, Dillon. Judy, Mitchell, CEH, Dillon. I need as high of a ceiling as possible. I mean, I think your highest ceiling out of the group is most likely not playing Dillon and not playing Judy. So it would be between Mitchell and CEH. And I think the highest ceiling between the 2 of them is probably Mitchell. I think the safer floor is CEH, because I know he's going to get himself a pretty ample volume of opportunity. So I think the safer floor is CEH. The higher upside is Mitchell. If I was to pick a third option, and go Dillon before Judy for sure. Thank you. Lockett, Godwin, or CEH in a half PPR, says Dexter Brett in the chat. I'd probably play CEH there. CEH, Godwin, Lockett in that order. Let's see here. Adam Amar sends in a question. Says, we holding Lenny? No. I never picked up Lenny in the first place. I don't think I'm trying to remember. Did I ever have Lenny in a waiver wire pickup video? I don't think I've ever had Lenny in a waiver wire pickup video this year. So no, we're not holding Lenny. I mean, that team is literally utilizing Ty Johnson every week. So I would venture to say that Lenny is probably cooked or just completely out of shape, and they're just not willing to go ahead and bring him out of that, the practice squad form at the right, as of right now. Also, Flowers in the rain or Lockett. Flowers, and yeah, if it's a rain game and we're talking about 18-mile-per-hour winds, I'm not playing Flowers there. I'd rather just play Lockett and take the risk of it. Thank you, Adam. Jonathan Santiago says, should I start Davis over Nico Collins or DK Metcalf? Davis over Nico Collins okay, let's see here. At the moment, I mean, it's So, okay, so here's my thought process. Typically, Nico Collins and DK Metcalf, clear and away, are the better plays than Gabe Davis, especially considering in the last 8 games, Gabe Davis has 4 games of less than 2 fantasy points and only 3 games of good performances. Now, granted, those good performances are 19 plus fantasy points each of those 3 times. So he is extremely just terrible or the best player in your fantasy lineup within the given week. He's one or the other. As of right now, I would want to play DK Metcalf, especially coming off of last week. I don't really want to take the risk of Gabe Davis getting me only 2 points within my overall week and lineup. Nico Collins is dealing with weather concerns. If that clears up, I would prefer Nico Collins over the bunch. But as of right now, no, I'd probably just keep DK Metcalf there. So if tomorrow Jets matchup on top of terrible weather, yes, I would play Gabe Davis over Nico Collins to answer your question, Jonathan. Also, your follow-up question is PPR pick 1, McKinnon, Singletary, or Walker. If Walker's active, I'm playing him. If he's not out of the group, I'd probably end up pivoting to McKinnon there. Thank you. 313 Richo says, who should I start in my flex? Addison, Downs, or Myers in a full PPR? Ooh, that's a really good question. I'd probably end up playing Jacoby Myers there. Thank you, Richo. Appreciate it. Ibrahim sends in a question, says full PPR. I'm really scared of the weather. Pick 3, Nico Collins, Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell, or Mostert and or Puka Nacua. Yeah, listen, if by tomorrow morning that weather's a disaster and we can get an actual visual look at it, I'm probably sitting Nico Collins and Puka Nacua, and I'm playing those 3 running backs you have. I'd play Gus Edwards, I'd play Keaton Mitchell, and I'd play Raheem Mostert. Thank you, Ibrahim. Let's see here. Adam Amar says, have Kupp, Thielen, Godwin, and Ayuk. Do I drop one for JSN, Downs, or Mingo? Also, am I crazy for debating Russ over Lamar? No, I don't think you're crazy for that. I would actually, if the weather's a disaster tomorrow morning and there's no possibility of Lamar being able to consistently throw the ball, then we're probably in a position to where, yes, you probably play Russell Wilson there this week. To answer your prior question, I'd be willing to drop Thielen for JSN right now. I think JSN's rest of season schedule is good enough, and his utilization as late is also there to consider him a better option over Thielen rest of season, especially considering the fact that Thielen is trending in the opposite direction to where he needs to be in terms of usage, opportunity, targets, etc. Let's see here. Scrolling down, we had a question from Dave Curtis. Thank you, Dave. It says full PPR, pick 2. Puka Nacua, Jaden Reed, Nico Collins, Jonathan Mingo, or CEH. Puka has weather, Nico has weather. Under the assumption those weather games are awful, I play Jaden Reed and CEH. Thank you, Dave. Of course, I think you already know if the weather games in either of those 2 scenarios between Puka and Nico, like I'm sure all of you guys know, for those of you who are asking these questions, if you have Puka Nacua and Nico Collins, and tomorrow morning somehow, some way, the weather clears up, right? You know you have to play them, right? Hopefully we're all on the same page there, because they've just been playing far too well not to start, especially Nico Collins in the absence of Tank Dell, and of course Puka Nacua every single week being able to outproduce Cooper Kupp. So you know that if the weather is not a disaster, you play them. Otherwise, for right now, yes, Dave, the alternatives would be to play Jaden Reed and CEH. Thank you. Caden sends in a question. Says start 2, RB2 in a flex in a full PPR scoring format. Win or go home. Spread plus 12 points. We have Gabe Davis, CEH, Jerick McKinnon, Keaton Mitchell, Bryce. Sorry, not Bryce. I was gonna say Bryce Young. Breece Hall. Okay, so your quarterback is Hurts. Rashad White is your running back. Jay Jett is your wide receiver 1. Jaden Reed is your wide receiver 2. Okay. If we're looking just for a singular flex in a full PPR scoring format, in an RB2, I'd go with CEH and Gabe Davis. Now, if you don't want to play the sketchy potential there, the next best option after Davis would probably be Breece Hall. Yeah, so it's either CEH and Gabe Davis or CEH and Breece Hall. And it's a matter of like When you say plus 12, like are you projected to win by 12? I'm assuming that's the case. If you're already projected to win by 12, I wouldn't even take that Gabe Davis risk. I just probably throw out like Brees Hall, get myself a guaranteed 10 points. If he ends up scoring a touchdown, great. He gets me 16 along with CEH. But if you're down or projected to lose by 12, I would go for the risk and try to see if Gabe Davis can, and could certainly pull out an upset there and help you out. All right, let's see here. Eric Foreman sends in a question. Says Eckler / Kelly or CEH. Oh man. Am I overreacting by not starting Eckler in this scenario? Someone in the chat was asking CEH or ETN. I'd play ETN there. Waddle or Olave. I'd rather play Olave. Thank you. Someone asks full PPR starter Amari Cooper or Cooper Kupp. If Amari Cooper is active tomorrow, cleared concussion protocol, ready to go, I'd play him over Cooper Kupp, assuming the weather in Baltimore is a disaster. Eckler, Kelly, or CH? I think I've given Eckler enough tries. I think I'd just play CH there, to be honest. I feel like Eckler could end up burning you. Like in any given week, the reason why we rank Eckler so high is because the offense he's associated with and the fact that he's an RB1 that is going to get himself a high volume of touches. I mean, last week, what did he have? Like 17 touches? And he still only had like 3.7 fantasy points. Pretty disastrous. But yeah, I think I'd play CEH there. I think I'm overreacting a little bit, but at the moment, he's burnt us so many times. I don't know if I can, fool me once, shame on, you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm an idiot. Fool me 4 times, I should stop playing fantasy, right? So I'm just going to lean away from him. David sends in a question, says full PPR, wide receiver in a flex. We have Kupp, we have Garrett Wilson, we have Reed, we have CEH. Yeah, again, if the weather's a disaster, we play Reed and CEH. If it's not, we play Garrett Wilson and Cooper Kupp. Those would be the guys that we want to play. But if the weather does not lean us in the direction, we pivot to the alternatives. Thank you. Rockout says pick 2 defenses for the playoffs: Dallas, Indy, or New York Jets. I'd rather have the Indy and New York Jets defense. I'm not playing Dallas's defense. If I'm not mistaken, in the fantasy playoffs, they go up against Baltimore. Sorry, not Baltimore. They go up against Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit. I mean, when we're talking about good offenses, that's as good as it gets in the National Football League as of right now. So I'd rather have the Indy and New York Jets defense rest of the season. Bruce Cowdrey sends in a question, says full PPR, choose one: Mingo, OBJ, Tillman, or Palmer if he plays. Palmer's already been designated as out for this week. Let me go ahead and confirm that really quickly, actually, while we're here. LA Chargers. Joshua Palmer is limited practice. Actually, well, have they designated him to return? Let's see here. If I go here, I'm fairly certain he's been deemed. Where is he at? Josh Palmer, yeah. So according to the official website for the Los Angeles Chargers injury report, he's already been deemed out for this week. So Josh Palmer is not going to play. So as for the alternative options of Mingo, OBJ, Tillman, if I'm choosing one, if the OBJ weather is a disaster, Mingo's the play. Thank you very much, Bruce. Appreciate it. Infinity and Bijan says Jaden Reed or Elijah Moore full PPR. If Amari Cooper doesn't play, it would be Elijah Moore. If he does play, it would be Jaden Reed. Thank you. Anthony O sends in a question. Says full PPR. I need to start a tight end. Options are Dallas Goedert, Isaiah Likely, Gerald Everett. I'm playing against Justin Herbert this week. Got it. Okay, so out of the 3, I'd play Dallas Goedert. Thank you very much, Anthony. Appreciate it. Omar G says Brees Hall, Chuba Hubbard, Josh Downs, pick 2 full PPR. I'd probably play both running backs. Give me Hall, give me Chuba. Thank you. We had a question that came in from ASAP Maurice, who says, hey, Andrew, big fan. Need some advice for my RB2 spot. We have McKinnon, we have Ford, we have CH. Yeah, I'll take CH there. Thank you. Appreciate it, ASAP. Cameron Kaplan sends the question, says PPR, I need one: Nico, Olave, Waddle, or Devontae Smith. Under the assumption, yeah, it doesn't even matter. Nico Collins is probably the lowest ranked out of the bunch anyway because he plays against the Jets. I'd play Olave there. Thank you. Let's see here. Famous Maker sends in a question, says, drop Ramondre for either CH or McKinnon. Oh, I think Ramondre, even if he is to return, doesn't come back till week 17. That would be my assumption. So as of right now, considering you need running back depth, because again, Ramondre was probably a starter. Yes, I would drop him for someone like CH, assuming you don't have an IR spot available. All right, let's see here. McKinnon or Dobbs, says Lewis the Best, or the Beast, excuse me. I'd probably play Josh. No, sorry, not Josh Dobbs. I'd rather play Romeo Dobbs there. All right, let's see here. Tristan Smith sends in a question. Says, salutations, Andrew. Half PPR, first playoff game. Devontae Smith, Puka Nacua, Eckler, Bijan, Achane, Mostert, Hall, Rice, Reed. 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Thank you, sir. Okay, Tristan. So let's figure out running backs first and foremost. Achane and Bijan Robinson, 1 and 2. Moving on, let's talk about wide receivers. I'd play Devontae Smith, number 1. Assuming Puka Nacua's weather is clear, I would play him alongside of him. But if, in fact, the weather is a disaster, I would play Jaden Reed as the wide receiver 2. Okay? And then in your flex, of the remaining options, half PPR, I don't want to play Breece Hall. I don't really want to play Jaden Reed there, per se. It would probably be between Eckler and Mostert. Oh, man. This Eckler fellow is really starting to... It's really starting to hurt. I'd probably end up playing I'd probably end up playing Mostert could sit at the end of the first half and then we're screwed. So this is what I'd probably do, Tristan. Assuming Puka Nacua's weather is a disaster, I would play Bijan, Achane, Smith, Rice, and Eckler. Thank you, Tristan. All right. Where are we at here? Caden says lose by 2. So if you're projected to lose by 2, or 12, excuse me, not 2. If you're projected to lose by 2, I would play CH with Gabe Davis and just hope for that upside performance. Now, that being said, you could end up playing Breece Hall there and still get the 10 points and guaranteed that, and then maybe still figure it out. But yeah, I'd like to take the potential risk for the biscuit. Lethal Jake sends in a question, says, Reed or Dobbs, with Reed healthy now and no Watson. Yeah, I'd still rather play Romeo Dobbs. Thank you. I mean, I think they're both great plays, don't get me wrong. But between the two of them, whenever Christian Watson has been out, by far and away in terms of target opportunity and usage, Dobbs has been the premier wide receiver out of the bunch. ETN or Eckler, I'd rather play ETN. I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's practice for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There were a couple reports that were put out on Twitter. I mean, Trevor Lawrence looks fully healthy. The dude is moving in practice. Like, there's not even a limp, like, at all. Not even, you would think, especially how brutal the injury looked on Monday, that he would be limping a little bit. Nope, not even the case. All right, Evan sends in a question. Says PPR, Evan Salas says, PPR flex Dobbs, Amari Cooper, or Jerome Ford. Let me think about this. Against the Jaguars, would I rather play Amari Cooper? Let me check something real quick. Let's see here. Okay, let's go here really quickly. I need to check something from last week's game. Amari Cooper. Yeah. So I'm thinking if Amari Cooper's active, I would play him. If he's not by tomorrow, I'd play Romeo Dobbs on Monday. Thank you, Evan. Appreciate it. All right. We had a question that came in from Gigabytes. It says, hi, Andrew. Start 2 wide receivers, 1 running back. Full PPR. Sutton, Collins, Downs, Flowers, Rice, or Thielen. So, and then your running backs are White, Hall, CH, and Keaton Mitchell. First and foremost, considering you only have 1 running back that you can start, my suggestion is to play Rachaad White pretty easily there, because he's been absolutely out of his mind as of late. I think since week 7, he's averaging like 17 fantasy points per game in a full PPR. Pretty crazy numbers. Maybe more. I think it might be 18. Either way. So Rashad White is my running back for this week in terms of suggestions. As for wide receivers, if in fact that weather is a disaster in New York and Collins is going to be in a little bit of a tough situation along with Flowers, I'd play Cortland Sutton and Rashee Rice there. But again, if we're in a scenario in which Collins has clear weather, I'd play him alongside of Sutton. But I doubt that would be the case. So again, Sutton and Rice would be my suggestion. Thank you. Let's see here. What's up, Sip? How you doing, man? Let's see here. Tyrone Jenkins says Calvin Ridley or Zay Flowers, full PPR. Whew. I mean, pick your poison. How do you want to lose this week? Because I don't think either of those ways are going to be. I don't think either of those scenarios are going to be great. If the weather in Baltimore is looking better, I'd love to play Zay Flowers there, but I don't think it'll be the case. So I think you'd have to pivot to just playing Calvin Ridley and hope that Trevor Lawrence looks in his direction more than twice. Shawshank sends in a question. Says Eckler, Montgomery, and DeAndre Swift. Start 2, leaning towards Montgomery and Swift. Montgomery for sure. As for Swift and Eckler, yeah, I'm okay with playing Swift there. Thank you. Paul D says Gibb or Vontae. So I'm assuming that's Gibbs or Javonte Williams. Between the two of them, I'd rather have Jahmyr Gibbs in my lineup. Follow-up question, Puka or McKinnon. For right now, let's just keep Puka in there. Yeah, let's just keep Puka in there for now. Last question, Hurt or Dak? I think I have Jalen Hurts ranked higher, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd go with Jalen Hurts there. Best STR tight end. I don't even know what best STR's tight end even means, Paul D. If you can type in the chat as to the explanation to what that means, that'd be greatly appreciated, man. Eric Foreman had another question. Says, thanks for what you do. PPR, Godwin, JSN, Zay, OBJ, Ridley. Out of the bunch, I'd rather play Godwin out of the bunch as of right now. If the weather in Baltimore is not a disaster, I'd play Zay Flowers ahead of him, though. But we'll see that by tomorrow morning. Ferris in the chat says, I need an RB2 fill-in and a flex. Pick 2, Derrick Henry, Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Gus the Bus Edwards. RB2 and a flex. Assuming the weather goes the way that I anticipated to go, I'm probably playing Derrick Henry and Rashee Rice there. Anakin says, who do I start, CH or McKinnon? I prefer CH this week. I'm in a position to where I can start both, but at the cost of benching Rice, no, I wouldn't bench Rice. I'd keep Rice out there, and I'd play CH alongside of him. Alan Ross, what's up, man? Says, PPR, Nacua, Henry, Ford, Mitchell, or Addison. Nacua, Henry, Ford, Mitchell, or Addison. I'd probably end up playing Henry there out of the bunch. Romeo Doubs or Noah Brown in the flex. I would play Romeo Doubs there pretty confidently as well. Eric Foreman says, thanks a ton. Yeah, no problem, Eric. Let's see here. Big Briss says, half PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex. Ferguson, Goddard. Okay, so your tight end, Big Briss, is going to be, Jake Ferguson pretty comfortably. The wide receiver one out of the ones that you've mentioned, I'd play Gabe Davis. The flex that I would play out of this bunch is probably in a half PPR. I'd probably end up playing Jordan Addison there. Just to, cover up all the possibilities there. Leo Bernal says Josh Allen or Tua Tagovailoa. I'd rather play Josh Allen there. Rushing upside has looked incredibly well as of late in terms of after the offensive coordinator change. A lot more designed runs for Josh Allen, which only helps increase his upside. In the last 2 games, he's averaging 30 fantasy points per game, so should be in a pretty good spot there. Let's see here. After we took care of Eric Foreman's question, we scrolled down here. We had one that came in from Y, who says, flex PPR, Javonte, Ridley, Dobbs, Godwin, Love as my quarterback. Out of the bunch, yeah, I would rather play Romeo Dobbs there, and I just stack him with Love. Thank you, Y. Evan says, forgot to mention Amari Cooper or Likely. I'd rather play Amari Cooper if he's healthy, and he's active tomorrow. Anthony O says, full PPR flex, Swift, Nacua, or OBJ. If the weather's a disaster, we play Swift. If it's not, I play Puka. Thank you. McKinnon or CEH says Ray C. I'd rather play CEH. As of right now, I have CEH as a low-end RB2. I have McKinnon as a low-end RB3 in a half PPR. In a full PPR, McKinnon jumps a little bit to like the mid-range RB3, and CH moves up just a tad bit to still being a lower end RB2, but jumps over a couple players in that kind of capacity who don't catch the ball out of the backfield or don't even have opportunities to do so. Michael Anderson says, Howell is on a bye week. Minshew or Geno? I'd rather play Minshew this week. Thank you, Michael. David C says starter tight end. Yeah, but STR tight end, it's like, it's such a broad question, right? The let me see here. Where's the let me find the question. This is Paul D. So he just says best STR tight end. It's like best starting tight end. I mean, it's like TJ Hawkinson, right? But or Travis Kelce, but I don't think that's what he's asking, right? Because he didn't. I don't think he's suggesting that he has those kind of players. I don't even know what he means. Anyway, all I see from him in the chat is just laughing emojis. I don't know if he's just messing with me or something at this point. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Ibrahim Yusuf, who says half PPR, Flowers, D-Hop, Dobbs, Godwin, London, start one. D-Hop, Dobbs, London, Godwin. I think London, Godwin, Dobbs, and D-Hop tomorrow morning are going to be so closely ranked in a half PPR. As of right now, I probably lean towards playing Dobbs, but it could change by tomorrow morning. You'll know because you have the Patreon, Ibrahim. So the rankings will be posted at around 2 a.m. So you'll know exactly where I'm leaning towards. But for right now, I'm leaning towards Dobbs. Green says Fields or Purdy. If I'm not mistaken, I have Fields on Thursday ranked as my like number 5 quarterback, and Purdy is number 4. Yeah, so I'm leaning towards playing Purdy there. Thank you, Green. Basic Creed says Downs, Davis, Edwards. Okay. If it's a half PPR scoring format, I'd rather play Gabe Davis. If it's a full PPR, I'd rather play Gabe Davis. If it's a standard scoring format, I'd rather play Gus Edwards. Okay. Follow-up question that you had is Vikings defense or Falcons defense? I'd rather play the Vikings defense. Thank you. Somebody in the chat was saying, this is B-Dog, who says A.J. Dillon, Jonathan Mingo, or Tyjae Spears. Assuming it's a half PPR, I'd play A.J. Dillon. If it's a full PPR, I'd play Jonathan Mingo. Daniel Gonzalez in the chat says flex one, Puka, Ridley, Hopkins, or Ferguson. Honestly, I'd rather play Jake Ferguson out of the bunch. Let's see here. Goddard or Kincaid was asked in the chat. I'd rather play Kincaid, even with Dawson Knox being elevated today. Daniel Gonzalez in the chat. Okay, we took care of that. We took it. Jimmy in the chat says, I lost Kirk. Who should I pick up if I have Amon-Ra, Puka, Flowers, and JSN? Zay Jones, Josh Downs, Chris Godwin, Romeo Dobbs on waivers. I would rather play Romeo. I mean, listen, my assumption is that Christian Watson's injury, the hamstring, is going to be a multi-week deal. Considering the upcoming schedule for the Green Bay Packers and how well they have played, I would probably have him on roster out of the bunch. CEH or Mitchell in a half PPR. I'd probably lean towards CEH there. Higher volume of touches. Just as much red zone upside. Ricky Canala sends in a question. Says, likely or Gerald Everett? Considering the weather in Baltimore, I'd rather play Gerald Everett. Thank you. Tyler Conklin. Wait, where's that question? Sorry, it scrolled. It like updated my screen. Where was that? Tyler Conklin or Hunter Henry? Hunter Henry already played though. That's tough, right? That's tough. Half PPR, Gus the Bus or CEH? Probably. I got to think about that one. 24 a.m. It says, will you make an updated video for playoffs? What does that mean? I don't even know what that even means. Updated video for playoffs. As in like strength of schedule, rest of season rankings. Like what exactly does that mean? Someone says streaming tight end. That's probably what it is. STR is probably streaming. If I was going to suggest a streaming tight end for this week, it's under the assumption that all these guys are rostered and we're not playing Isaiah Likely or Brevin Jordan because of the weather. Under that assumption, Isaiah Likely, Brevin Jordan, Tyler Conklin are all pretty rough spots. It's either Gerald Everett or my second favorite option would be Tucker Kraft. Third favorite option in terms of streaming tight end, Chigoziem Okonkwo. All right, let's see here. We scroll down. We had a question that came in from Gigs. It says, appreciate it. Asked about CH and Keaton Mitchell because they're available in my league. Should I consider dropping Thielen, Downs, or Jonathan Taylor for one of them? Or anyone else? JSN, Elijah Moore are also available. Interesting. I would be willing. I don't know what the rest of your. Well, actually, let me check here real quick. Let's see here. So you have Sutton, Collins, Downs, Flowers, Rice. Okay, so, and Thielen. And then you have White, Hall, CH, and Keaton. Okay, got it. So here's my suggestion, Gigs. Considering your scenario to where you're saying that CH and Keaton Mitchell are available in your league, I would be willing to drop Downs for, I'm even thinking about dropping Thielen for JSN there. Downs for CEH, Thielen for JSN. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I want to pick up Keaton Mitchell, but I just, if Pacheco goes to the IR, like CH is going to be so much more valuable because he just doesn't, yeah. So I that's what I would suggest. Those are the two moves that I would make. AJ Wright in the chat says, Olave good to go, question mark? Yes. Olave cleared, ready to go. Derek Carr also cleared concussion protocol. Let's see here. Little Boy Blue sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, hey, Andrew, full PPR likely or Kincaid with Knox back? I'd still play Kincaid there. Thank you. T-Law or Stafford? T-Law. Thank you. Also, what does that say? What did that question say? Pollard or Cup in the flex? Pollard. Hector Gonzalez says, one running back and flex. Madison, Mitchell, Cooks, Moore, Godwin, McKinnon. RB and a flex. The RB that I would play out of this bunch is Mitchell, Keaton Mitchell. The wide receiver that I would play out of this bunch is Brandon Cooks. Thank you, Hector. Appreciate it. Someone in the chat said James Cook or CH full PPR. I'd play James Cook there. 24 AM says yes, rest of season. I probably won't have a rest of season video, no. Because next week, by the time we get to, because next week has three Saturday games, no, there's no time for it. If I had more time in the week to be able to do the rankings videos and then also have a rest of season full encompass rankings, yeah, it wouldn't work, no. Because I have to have rankings fully prepared by Saturday morning because we'll be live streaming there. So yeah, there's not going to be a rest of season rankings video. Primarily also because like a lot of our a lot of our trade deadlines are already gone. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Jeff. Where's Jeff's question? Jeff says Montgomery or McKinnon in a PPR. It's not even close. It's David Montgomery. He had a follow-up question that says half PPR, 4 points per touchdown quarterback. Stroud, Flacco, or Ritter. I'd still play Stroud there. If the weather's a disaster, I'd pivot to Flacco. But then again, we don't know until tomorrow morning. And we don't even know if Flacco is starting because, so it's probably just Stroud. Yeah, I'd just play Stroud there. And half PPR flex CH, Elijah Moore, or Jacoby Myers. Yeah, I would play CH there in a half PPR. And then, yes, I would play Montgomery over McKinnon in a full PPR. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, man. Scrolling down, after Jeff's question, we had one from Shawshank who says, I need to bring Goddard off the IR, drop Taysom Hill or McBride rest of season. If I'm dropping one of the two, it would be dropping Taysom. In a full PPR, McBride is a top 3 tight end rest of season, I believe. He's after let's say, for example, right? If I was saying, hey, we're trading for a specific tight end, I would have Hawkinson and Travis Kelce pretty equal in terms of rest of season value. Right after both of them, immediately is Trey McBride. So for right now, I'm not dropping Trey McBride to bring in Goddard. I would drop Taysom Hill instead. Hector Gonzalez says Etienne or Henry full PPR. I'd rather play Travis Etienne considering Trevor Lawrence is going to be available. Okay, Michael Lewis in the chat was saying Flowers or plug in Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, if he scores a lucky touchdown, great. But otherwise, we're talking about 10 points or 2 points there. I'd rather just play Flowers there and risk it. Vicus in the chat says, hey, should I start Jerick McKinnon or Brandon Cooks? I'd rather play Brandon Cooks. Pillman06 says Flowers or JSN half PPR. If the weather in Baltimore is a disaster, we pivot to JSN. Let's see here. Drop Gibson for CEH? Yes. Well, okay. I don't know what Brian Robinson's injury fully looks like, but I would say yes for now. Is T-Law playing? If you saw his practice, let me see if I can find the video on Twitter. I don't know if I'll be able to find it right now, but if you go to Twitter, let me see. I'm going to try to look something up and see if I can find it, and I'll point you in the direction. Yeah. Do me a favor. Just go to Twitter and just type in, or X, whatever you want to call it, and just type in Trevor Lawrence. The first post on the top is a Pat McAfee show tweet of Trevor Lawrence practicing from yesterday. Just watch that video. He's definitely playing tomorrow. Let's see here. Scrolling down. EBZ and Flo says, greetings, Andrew. Thanks for 4 years. How about that, huh? How about that? Pick one to sit. Mostert, Gibbs, Moss, JJ, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Debo. If I'm sitting one, I'm sitting Mostert. I'd rather play Gibbs over him. I'd rather play Moss over him. I'd rather play Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Waddle, and Debo Samuel. Thank you. Bob Lemmings says, pick one running back and one wide receiver for a full PPR. We have Cooks, Godwin, Cooper, CH, Javonte Williams, Drew Hubbard. Okay. Ooh, that's tough, man. That is definitely not easy. Assuming, I think for right now, I'm leaning towards playing Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver and probably playing in a full PPR. Damn. Damn. I got to think about this for a second. Between the three of those guys, I'd probably play Hubbard and Cooks there. EBZ. Ebbs and flows. All right, let's see here. Sip says, Andrew, Stroud or Dobbs? Considering the weather, I'd rather play Dobbs. Downs or McKinnon, full PPR. Against Cincinnati, but I'd rather play Dobbs or play. McKinnon has way more touchdown potential, but Dobbs is just a safer play in a full PPR. I'd rather play Dobbs there. Or sorry, Downs, not Dobbs. Downs. Apologies. Read it wrong. Montgomery, Kyron Williams, or Gibbs. If I'm only playing one of the three, I'm playing Kyron Williams. If I have an opportunity of playing a second guy there, I would play Montgomery. Ash says, third and final attempt. Reed, Flowers, or Keaton Mitchell. Start two. Yeah, I'd play Reed and Mitchell there. Again, that's under the assumption that the weather in Baltimore is a disaster as it is projected to be. Constantino says, my boy, Lamar or Brock? Brock Purdy. Yes, the weather is an impact. Jonathan Cushman sends in a question. Says, thanks for all the help, man. I need a lineup to win and get in scenario. 12 team. We have Hurts, we have Bijan, we have Kyron, we have Hall, we have Gus, we have Kupp, we have St. Brown, right? Okay, so let me just go ahead and let me take this team that you've typed out to me. Let me take it to a notepad, and I'm going to paste it in here. So we have, okay, so those are your running backs. Let's branch these off from one another so I can decipher this whole thing. Okay, so here's my suggestion. Jonathan Cushman. Hurts is your starting quarterback, obviously. As for your starting running backs, it would be Bijan Robinson and Kyron Williams. Okay? As for your starting wide receivers, it would be St. Brown and Rice. The only question now remains is if, in fact, the weather is a disaster in Baltimore, you would then pit, if it is a disaster, you're obviously benching Kupp in that scenario. If it isn't, you'd play Kupp over Rice. If it is a disaster, as I am assuming it to be, I'd play Gus Edwards in that flex position, Ingram as your tight end, Colts as your defense. Thank you. Wet Bandit says, thoughts on tight end Kincaid and Goddard and Taysom Hill rest of the season? Kincaid, Goddard rest. Okay, so Goddard, I think the last 4 or 5 games prior to his injury was averaging about 10 fantasy points per game. Kincaid, with the return of Dawson Knox, I don't think is going to... I would like to hope that Dawson Knox doesn't play a huge impact, but we could see far more 12 personnel. I think the biggest player that impacts going forward isn't really Kincaid, but rather it's going to be impacting Khalil Shakir's overall utilization in terms of snaps. So for right now, I'd probably go like Kincaid 1. Can I trust Taysom Hill to be good every single week? No. Same thing with, but he has more upside. So I go like Kincaid 1, Hill 2, Goddard 3, rest of the season. And Waddle, Olave, Hopkins this week, full PPR for both. Between the 3 of those, I'd play Olave, full PPR. It would go Olave, Waddle, Hopkins in that order. Wet Bandit, thank you. Nathan Gutierrez sends in a question. Let's see where Nathan's question went. It wasn't attached to it. Says, should I start Andrew? Who should I start, Andrew? RBs are Jacobs, Pollard, Swift, Montgomery, Henry. Okay, so out of those 5, if I'm starting 2 only, it would be Jacobs and Pollard. Follow up, wide receivers, Kupp, Nakua, Devontae Adams, Pittman, Evans. If I'm starting 2 of those players, it's Evans and Pittman. Quarterback is Purdy or Herbert. I'd rather play Purdy as my quarterback. And then if I'm only playing 1 player in the flex position out of all of them that are available, I play Montgomery there. So Jacobs, Pollard, Montgomery, Pittman, Evans, Purdy. Thank you, Nathan. Jamel Joyner says, I need 2 flex, half PPR scoring for Matt Walker, JSN, Hopkins, Mitchell. Okay, let's see here. 2 flex, half PPR. Can Hopkins get the job done even against tough coverage in Miami? If it's me, I'd probably play Walker and Mitchell there. If Walker doesn't go, you play Hopkins in instead. Thank you. All right, let's see. We had a question that came in from Dominic Bueno. Thank you, Dominic. Appreciate it. It says, if Flowers is a no-go, Hubbard, Cooper, Reed, full PPR. Hubbard, Cooper, Reed. I think Hubbard's the safest player of the bunch. I would like to assume that against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a full PPR, Amari Cooper would be the most valuable. So I'd go Cooper 1, Hubbard 2, Reed 3 in a full PPR there. Thank you. Adrian Gomez says, who should I start in the flex? Standard league, Mostert, Godwin, Hopkins. In a standard league, because typically in a standard league, I want to pivot towards the running back who has the most touchdown upside, which I would believe to be in this case, Mostert, but he's capped in terms of his overall value. Can I expect? Yeah, I think I'd still probably play him. I'd probably just play Mostert there. Also, if you could, Dolphins defense or Falcons defense? I'd rather play Dolphins defense this week. Thank you. Bijan or Nakua in the flex? Bijan. Half PPR pick 2, Mitchell, Madison, Pollard, Mixon, and Swift. Pollard and Mixon are my 2 that I take there, Ando. Glad Winnie the Pooh says Downs, Dobbs, Kareem Hunt, flex half PPR, Dobbs. Lawrence or Dobbs, Zenith. I would play... That's a really good question. I think I'd probably play Josh Downs. You know what? Trevor Lawrence scoring rushing touchdowns makes it that much. Good question. Tomorrow morning I'll have a for sure ranking on that. For right now, I'm leaning towards Downs. Sorry, Dobbs. Jesus. I mean, the amount of Dobbs I've heard today or read today is just ridiculous. My brain is starting to melt from it. Okay. Let's see here. Now that we've gone ahead and taken care of a bunch of questions, appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and travel on over to Underdog Fantasy. Again, putting together a couple pick'em slips for this weekend. I'll share with you guys a couple of the thoughts that I had in regards to yesterday's Hidden Gems video, in which I shared at the end of the video, just so that we're all on the same page as to what I am leaning towards for this weekend. Before I continue, we're good to go. Also, again, a couple reminders. Before we get into that, if you guys haven't yet already, please do me a favor, support the channel by clicking the like button down below. It takes 2 seconds, probably less than 2 seconds out of your day, but it helps continue to support and grow the channel, so I greatly appreciate that. Additionally, as I travel to Underdog, reminder, for those of you who are trying to get my rankings tomorrow morning and for every single subsequent Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, you want those rankings which are by position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, and defense, flex rankings, half PPR, full PPR. All you got to do, travel on over to Underdog Fantasy, use code Andrew, make a first-time deposit minimum of $10, and you'll get those rankings every single Sunday for the remainder of the season for that individual, week's rankings. Now, for week 15 and week 16, I'll also be sending out rankings on those Saturday mornings. Again, it's from my email directly to yours, so make sure to check your spam folder. Thank you very much. Okay, so as of right now, where are we at? We are there. Boom, bang, screen capture. Let's move it. And we're here. What I need to do is do this, that, boom. All right, that's on now. Alrighty, so in terms of some of the plays, I do see a couple questions that were just sent in. Let me go ahead and catch up on there. Jerisko says, what's up, Andrew? How's it going, man? Welcome. Okay, there was a couple questions. Dayball and a Dream sends in a question, says pick 3. Bijan, Henry, Ford, CH, McKinnon. I'd play Bijan, Henry, and CH. Thank you. And then there was a question from Nathan Gutierrez again. Nathan, I don't see your question attached. If you can't, type it in the chat. Okay, so a couple reminders. Yesterday in our Hidden Gems video of the week, I talked about a couple plays that I really like, okay? First and foremost, let's just put it out there. Michael Pittman Jr., 7 receptions, is one of the plays that I will always continue to like. A reminder, he's been able to go for 8 or more receptions in 7 of the last 8 games in which he has played with Gardner Minshew. You may be wondering, Andrew, well, why isn't it 8 of the last 8? Well, the only game in which he wasn't able to get himself 7 or specifically 8 or more receptions was against the Cleveland Browns and Denzel Ward. That game, obviously, he still ended up, scoring a touchdown, fine. But in terms of his overall reception count, was a little bit hamstrung by the fact that Denzel Ward was in main coverage against the majority of the day. So, as of right now, that is one of my favorite plays. Someone in the chat said Hurts or Purdy, 6 point per passing touchdown league. I think I'd still play Jalen Hurts there. Crunchy Cool says PPR pick 3, 2 of my running back spots. What does it say? Crunchy, I would suggest going with Bijan and Zach Moss as the 1-2 there as your running backs. And then if it's between all those other options, I play DJ Moore in the flex. Where's Nathan Gutierrez's question? Nowhere. Jake Thompson sent in a question. Thank you, Jake. Says Mixon, Kyron Williams, Bijan Robinson, Waddle, Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb. What else do we have here? Okay, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. So you have Mixon, Kyron, Bijan. Between those 3, I'd play Kyron and Bijan. We need 2 wide receivers, Waddle, Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb, and Devontae Smith are the 1-2. And then in the flex, I play Mixon. Thank you. Okay, cool. Nathan Gutierrez says, I did. You did where? Oh, it's way further up. Okay, got it. Yahoo Superflex League. Who should I start? Quarterback, Allen or Purdy? I'd rather play Allen. Running back, Kyron Williams, Swift, Montgomery, Henry, Singletary. If I'm starting 2 of those running backs, I'm playing Kyron Williams and David Montgomery. Wide receivers, Elijah Moore, Keenan Allen, Godwin, Johnson. Keenan Allen has to play. Who's the Johnson receiver? Is it because Deontay's already played? So I don't even know who Johnson is. Unless it's like Johnston, which is like Quentin Johnston. But as of right now, out of those players, Nathan, I would play, again, Allen, Kyron Williams, Montgomery, Keenan Allen. Sorry, yeah. Josh Allen, Keenan Allen, Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, Chris Godwin, Henry in the flex. Thank you. G Medina says half PPR, start 3 running backs. Etienne, Bijan, Moss, Montgomery, Madison, CEH. Etienne, Bijan, probably play Moss or Montgomery. In a half PPR, I'll probably take Moss there. So I go Etienne, Bijan, and you know what? I'd probably go Bijan, Moss, Montgomery. Yeah, I'll go Bijan, Moss, Montgomery there. Thank you. All right. So in terms of the other plays that I liked from yesterday, if I go to CD Lamb, he's at 90.5 receiving yards. I mentioned this on yesterday's video. CD Lamb's been able to surpass 116 receiving yards in 5 of the last 7 games. Last time out against the Philadelphia Eagles, he went for 191 receiving yards. They have him currently, if you go higher, 91 receiving yards, 100 less than last time out against the Philadelphia Eagles, which of course he should be able to put up a pretty solid performance. So as of right now, like I'm going to take both of these plays, just a nice little sprinkle on it. I'll keep it moving. So some of the other plays, wait, why did it not go? There it is. Some of the other plays that I really like. DJ Moore, okay? DJ Moore. Like I've mentioned on multiple occasions, in 5 of the last 6 games in which he has played with a healthy Justin Fields, he has been able to surpass 96 receiving yards. 5 of the last 6 games. Last time out against the Detroit Lions, a couple weeks back, Thanksgiving morning, it wasn't even Thanksgiving morning. It was a week before that, so it was week 11. 96 receiving yards against the Detroit Lions. I will take him going higher than 71.5. Very easily. Very, very easily. Oops, sorry about that. Who's the other play that I liked? Josh Jacobs. That was the other play that I really liked going into this weekend. Josh Jacobs is currently at 18.5 rushing attempts. 3 of the last 4 games has gone over 20 rushing attempts. His numbers look like 20, 24, and 27 rushing attempts. His head coach has, on multiple occasions in press conferences, said that we feel most comfortable when we're giving Josh Jacobs the ball 20 plus times on the ground. I would go ahead and take them for their word on that. I'd expect him to get 20 rushing attempts this game coming off of the bye week. So those are the other plays that I really liked going into this week. If you guys have any suggestions in terms of plays that you have found, because again, last Saturday, someone suggested TJ Watt going higher on his tackles. I put that in, that thing hit. So I do appreciate for those of you guys who have any plays that, I'm not looking at or I haven't seen that could catch my attention. Appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Jimbo. It says, love the show. Full PPR, Njoku or Isaiah Likely or Goddard. Out of the 3, I'd probably end up playing Njoku there. Yeah, I'd go Njoku 1, Goddard 2, Likely 3. Thank you, Jimbo. Jonathan Cooper says, Bijan, White, Saquon, Kyron, pick 3. Out of those 4 options, I probably end up benching Saquon. Dave says, hey, Andrew, bench 2, full PPR, Eckler, Montgomery, Kyron, Madison, Singletary. I'd bench Madison and Singletary. Thank you. Kelsey, 22, says Madison or Mitchell. I'd rather play Keaton Mitchell this week. Pilot Jones says, start 1 in the flex, Keaton Mitchell, CEH, Jerick McKinnon, JSN. I'd rather play CEH out of the bunch there, Pilot. Let's see here. Raul says, who has more upside between Lockett and JSN? In a PPR, I would say JSN at the moment. Arash says, Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown. Is there a Taysom Hill anytime touchdown? Let's see here. If I type Saints up there, what do we got? Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown. It's not bad. I feel like this right here, Chris Olave, like this has to go higher. I think this is probably the safest, but is there Taysom Hill here by any chance? Taysom Hill? Nope. Okay. So no Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown, huh? Let me see here. Let's see. Where is Alvin Kamara's, let's see here, frequency of touchdowns. So prior to this week, or this last week, where he scored 2 rushing touchdowns, could have had himself a 3rd rushing touchdown, was tackled on the 1-yard line the following play. Of course, you guys know what happens. It's Taysom Hill show. 0-0-0-1. Okay, so he has scored a touchdown in 3 of the 9 games he's played this season. That's the only concern. So there's not a high level of frequency of touchdowns. And I understand he plays against the Carolina Panthers. It is a very advantageous matchup, but I could very easily see him getting yoinked by Taysom Hill. That's why I don't think they have a Taysom Hill number here. Taysom Hill's injured. What am I even saying? Hold up. It is now coming to my memory. New Orleans, injury report. Taysom Hill did not practice all week. We'll take it. Thank you very much. Never mind. Apologies. Completely forgot. Taysom Hill's dealing with an injury. So, Yeah, Arash, thank you very much for that. That's great. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from JG who says, non-PPR 2 quarterback league, if Trevor Lawrence plays, I could play Trevor Lawrence, Joshua Dobbs, and 2 running backs from Achane, Rashad White, Bijan Robinson, and David Montgomery. Or I could just play Lawrence and 3 running backs. In a I would probably geez, in a non-PPR scoring format, so standard league, I'd probably play Trevor Lawrence, Josh Dobbs, Achane, and a non-PP, and probably Bijan. Achane, Bijan, Dobbs, and Lawrence. I think that's the 4 that I go with. I think Montgomery is a pretty solid 13 points in a standard league. I think Josh Dobbs can outperform that. And I think Rashad White against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown. I mean, they play against Atlanta. Atlanta hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown all season. So I would assume he needed to get a lot of receiving utilization, which is exactly what happened last time out. He had like 65 receiving yards, 6 receptions. So for right now, if I'm in your position, JG, and I'm the GM of that team, I'm playing Lawrence, I'm playing Dobbs, I'm playing Achane, I'm playing Bijan. If Lawrence doesn't go tomorrow, then of course you play Dobbs, Achane, Bijan, and Montgomery. Thank you. Alex Sondgrass, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Says, standard league pick 3. We have Montgomery, we have Mostert, we have Pollard, we have Kenneth Walker, we have Keaton Mitchell. Okay. Standard full. Okay, so let's just answer that first and foremost. In a standard scoring format, I'd like to play Montgomery. I'd like to play Pollard. And if I'm looking for touchdown upside in a standard scoring format, I would just roll with Mostert there in a standard format. So Montgomery, Mostert, Pollard. Boom, boom, boom. Let's hope they all fall into the end zone. As for the follow-up question, standard league Puka, Garrett Wilson. If the weather in both those games are awful, I'd rather just play Puka. I think he has more touchdown upside. Thank you very much, Alex. I greatly appreciate it, my man. Let's see here. Clyde Edwards or Keaton Mitchell in a full PPR. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Clyde Edwards. In a half, I'd consider the opposite direction, but I would still be pressed to play Clyde Edwards because I know he's going to get a vast majority of the touches. Don't forget Lawrence is playing at Cleveland too. No, I know that, but here's the difference, right? I give Trevor Lawrence the benefit of the doubt because I know, like, when he's healthy and going, they are a good football team. So I'm not too worried about him, especially as of late. Since the debacle against the San Francisco 49ers, after that, they've completely shifted as an offense and they've been so much better. Let's see here. Okay. Nakua or London, full PPR. Big Ham 100. If the weather in Baltimore tomorrow is a disaster, you play with London. Otherwise, you roll with Nakua tomorrow. If the weather's, not lethal. Lethal Jake, speaking of lethal. PPR, London or Godwin. In a PPR scoring format, I'd rather play... Jamel Dean is out. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Chris Godwin. Half PPR, I'd probably go Drake London because he has higher touchdown upside. But yeah, for right now, in a full PPR, I'd probably go Godwin there. Also, CEH. Also got CEH leaning towards London. In a full PPR, would I rather play London or CEH? I got to think about that one. That one I got to think about. Okay, that's a good play. So besides Alvin Kamara, who else is a solid play for this weekend? Too bad they don't have anything Breece Hall related in terms of receptions. Too bad. What else is another solid play that I can maybe fish out of here? Let's see. 15.5 rushing attempts for Bijan. I would assume that that's going to go higher. I mean, just as of late, that number seems like a little bit too low of an exposure count. Like it's just like, as of late, Bijan Robinson rushing attempts, 22, 16, 18. I know he didn't play last time out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because, of course, he was dealing with a migraine. But even in that game, Tyler Algier had 21 rushing attempts. So I would venture to say that that is a pretty solid number. I'll take both those guys there, play that within an overall pick'em set. Boom, that's set. Good to go. I'll keep scrolling in just a moment. Let me go ahead and see other questions. Okay. Is ESPN fantasy full PPR or half? Brandon, it's full PPR. The unless your commissioner has changed it, it is full PPR by its base set. Connor in the chat says, which one should I bench? Eckler, Kyron Williams, Zach Moss, Josh Jacobs. Eckler, Kyron Williams, Zach. If I'm benching one of these players, I'm benching Austin Eckler. I'd rather play Kyron Williams, Zach Moss, and Josh Jacobs. Let's see here. There was a question that was sent to via super chat from Shub. Thank you very much, Shub. Says full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. We have Pittman, we have Chase, we have Ayuk, we have Adams, we have Collins, we have Metcalf. Okay, so of your wide receivers, I like playing I like the idea of playing Michael Pittman Jr. and Jamar Chase as your number 1 and number 2 wide receivers in a full PPR. As for your running backs, White, Achane, Eckler, and Moss, Achane has to play, and I think also I'm leaning in the direction of playing Rashad White there. So as of right now, Pittman, Chase, White, Achane. If I'm starting one of these players in the flex, in a full PPR, I don't like Collins because of the weather. Adams isn't in the best position because his quarterback play is not the best. Ayuk is solid, but he needs a touchdown. Metcalf is solid, but he needs a touchdown. Eckler's been awful as of late. Moss, I mean, he could have scored last week, actually. In a full PPR, Shubes, what I probably do is I go Pittman, Chase, Achane, White, and I play Ayuk in the flex. Thank you. Alrighty. Thank you, Connor. Let's see here. What is this question from Gabriel Alvarez, who says half PPR, start 2, Nico Collins, Hawkinson, Puka, and Rice. Okay, so here's the thing, Gabriel. If by tomorrow morning, the Baltimore game and the New York Jets game, the weather is not a problem, right? We would like to play Nico Collins alongside of Puka Nacua, right? But considering that is not, the likelihood of what tomorrow is going to look like, if I was you, I would prepare to play Hawkinson alongside of Rice tomorrow. Abe in the chat says, Herbert or Tua? I'd rather play Tua over Herbert this week. Cooks or Lockett? I'd rather play Cooks. Thank you. Let's see here. Levi says, half PPR. I need to start a running back and a flex out of these guys. Mostert, Keaton Mitchell, CH, Nico Collins. As of right now, I would say that Nico Collins would be your flex and Mostert would be your RB1 if the weather's fine. If it's not, you go Mostert and you play in a half PPR. I would say as of right now, if the weather is bad, you would just play Mostert and Clyde Edwards. But otherwise, it's Mostert and Nico. Thank you. Where are we at here? Big Ham 100 says Josh Downs, Keaton Mitchell, Jonathan Mingo, or Tyjae Spears in a full PPR. In a full PPR at that point, I'd probably just play Jonathan Mingo. Ando A says half PPR, Brandon Cooks, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, pick 2. I play Brandon Cooks and Jaden Reed there. Ando, thanks, man. Kizzy says Hubbard, Achane, Montgomery, sit 1. It's tough to say, but yeah, I'm sitting Hubbard there. I'm starting Achane and Montgomery ahead of him. I do have Hubbard pretty highly ranked in comparison to where I had him on Tuesday, but still not ahead of those guys because those guys are just in my top 12. Tony says, I love watching a degenerate gambler do pick'em slips. You know, the funny thing is, if I was a degenerate gambler, you guys would know it. I mean, I probably put in like maybe 5 pick'em slips every week. Yeah, probably like 5. I mean, I win some, I lose some. I've been doing pretty well as the difference is between being a degenerate gambler and like just a regular person that's, having fun with pick'em slips is that I do all the research all week long. Some people just, they're like, oh, I'm just going to boom, here we go. But like I literally, my job is to know what I'm doing. And trust me, I know what I'm doing and I win a pretty good share. Is it really gambling when you know the outcome? That's the real question. Let's see here. G Medina says half PPR, start Taysom Hill if he's if he plays, or Jordan, or if Taysom Hill plays, yes, I would like to have him in my lineup. If he doesn't, okay, so we're gonna go through multiple steps here. If Taysom Hill doesn't play, okay, if he doesn't play, potentially, it would be between Brevin Jordan and Tucker Kraft. Between the two of them, the only way that I would play Brevin Jordan is if the weather is somewhat, somewhat okay. If it's like a light rain, the weather in terms of the wind is not a problem. Otherwise, I'm just pivoting to playing Tucker Kraft. But if Taysom Hill is active, I'd like to play him tomorrow. Start ETN, Swift, or Moss. I play ETN and Moss there. HOV. Aaron Jones or Keaton Mitchell? Raymond, I would play Keaton Mitchell there. Andrew, I got Keenan Allen, JJ, Amon-Ra, Kamara, Kyron, Moss. I have to bench 1.5 PPR. Okay. So here's your thing, Anadi. In your position, you have JJ, Amon-Ra. Those guys have to, and Keenan Allen. I think all three of them have to play. So I'm probably sitting one of the running backs. I'd probably end up sitting Moss. So I'd go Keenan Allen starts, JJ starts, Amon-Ra starts, Kamara starts, Kyron Williams starts. Thank you, man. Godwin, Lockett, or Cooks. I'd play Cooks number 1, Godwin 2, Lockett 3. Wyatt says PPR, CH versus the Bills or DeAndre Swift against the Cowboys. CH versus the Bills. Where do I have him ranked? Okay, so I have Clyde there. Where is Swift? Control 3 or F3, or I can do Control F on this actually and find him. As of right now, I still have Swift ahead of him. Thank you. Rice or Javonte Williams in a PPR? Steve, I would play Rice there. Is there any way, so what is it? Is there a way for those of us in Washington to see your picks? I can't use, yeah, I mean, look, I can share with you guys in terms of what I have live right now. Let me go pick them. So right now, in terms of, well, these are like, what is this? Oh yeah, this is like the 5-leg play that I put yesterday in my, the 5-leg play that I put in yesterday's Hidden Gems video. I would exclude this because the weather in New York is going to be a disaster. This probably ends up biting me in the ass, okay? This bites me in the ass. But Pittman over 7 receptions, Jacobs over 18.5 rushing attempts, CeeDee Lamb over 19.5 receiving yards, DJ Moore over 70.5 receiving yards. And then the only, I mean, I think we just spread them out. The only other plays that I like that I found so far, Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown, assuming Taysom Hill, considering he did not practice at all this week, potentially misses. And Bijan Robinson going over 15.5 rushing attempts. He's had 16 or more to each of the last 3 games. Takes on Tampa Bay. Last time out against Tampa Bay, obviously was injured. But in that game, Tyler Algier with 21 rushing attempts. So I'm assuming they'll run the ball heavily against that defense, especially with Devin White out, one of their interior linebackers. Eckler, Gibbs, Moss says face T-Man. Yeah. Between those 3, I'd bench Eckler, to be honest. Might be sketchy, but that's what I would do. Okay, let me see if I can find any other plays. Is this tonight? Is this game tonight? If this game is tonight, right? This NBA game between the Lakers, I think this is like the championship, right? I would assume that LeBron shows up and shows out, right? I think that's a good assumption. This is what I'd probably suggest. If I'm doing this, I'm thinking like both these guys maybe just ball out, maybe. Double-double? How often does this man get a double-double? Not very often. All right, I'm just going to throw this in here. Do not follow. This is the one where I'm just do not follow, okay? Do not follow me here. All right, I'm just doing it for my own fun. I'm a degenerate, okay? Let me live. Let me live my life. All right, let's see here. Here's another one of these plays that I really like, right? David Montgomery has had a rushing touchdown in every single game he has played this season healthy. So I feel like 0.5 rushing touchdowns, it is a good assumption against his former team. Revenge game once again for him to have another solid performance here. I would assume, right? Especially it's in Chicago. Should be a run-heavy game. All right, let me see here. Did I catch up? Okay, boom, 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 boom. There it is there. Let's see here. Ando says, longtime subscriber. I've been playing. I'm playing for first place. Thanks for all the help. Thank you, Ando. Appreciate it. You're always in the chat every time we do a live stream, man. So I'm more than happy to help you whenever I can. Thank you again, Ando. Appreciate it. PPR start Devontae Adams or Pollard. Here's the thing, okay? Hear me out. The run stop defense of the Philadelphia Eagles as of late has not been as, feared as it once was. If we just look at the last couple games, in terms of rushing statistics, like they gave up over 120 rushing yards to the Kansas City Chiefs. They gave up, 73, 83, 92 rushing yards to the Buffalo Bills. And they gave up 116 rushing yards to the San Francisco 49ers running backs. I would venture to say that it's fair to assume that Pollard could have a pretty solid game this week. And if he continues his streak of touchdowns, I'd probably take him. That's probably the direction I'm leaning towards. National Champ Rush says half PPR, flex Keaton Mitchell, Derrick Henry, Dameon Pierce, Calvin Ridley. I'd probably have to play Derrick Henry there. There's no way I leave him on my bench. Tommy D says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a 10-man standard league. Win and I'm in. Win and I'm in. Pollard, Cup, CEH in the flex. I play Pollard there pretty confidently. Also, Fields or Mahomes, 6-point per passing touchdown. I'd probably play Fields there over Mahomes, even in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. It does feel weird. It definitely does feel weird to bench Mahomes. The only thing that gives me confidence in Fields is that the last 3 games against, and you know what? This actually brings up a great point. The last 3 games in which he's played against the Detroit Lions, he has gotten himself over 100 rushing yards in all 3 of those games. This is the play that I'm going to play real quick here. Let me just do that really quickly. Boom, bang, bop. All right. What time is it? 43? Okay, we have time for maybe one more if I can find it. Let me just keep scrolling. Let me see what I can find here in terms of plays that I like. If you guys have a suggestion, let me know. Steve says, does wind/rain deter you from playing Lamar? Yes. Now, here's the thing. Lamar is a special quarterback considering he has rushing upside. Like, if it was, like, if we were in a scenario where Derek Carr was in that, weather concern situation, we wouldn't even touch him. But Lamar is still a playable quarterback to an extent because of his rushing upside. But again, we're going to have to wait till tomorrow morning to really know the extent of what that weather looks like. CEH or Gus Edwards, full PPR. Tim, I would play CEH there. Michael Lewis says, Henry Eckler, CEH. I'd probably go Henry Eckler there if I'm picking 2 of the 3. Let's see here. Dobbs or Stroud? I'd rather play Dobbs, especially considering the weather. Chat, Miami or Green Bay defense this week? I would suggest playing Miami's defense. Ezekiel Elliott in the S tier. That's right, William. Ezekiel Elliott popped off. I mean, the way that Zeke played on Thursday, you would think, man, he should have been with the Dallas Cowboys. He should have never left. I mean, maybe they should have cut him and then re-signed him, but I don't know. Maybe they weren't willing to bring him back and be like, hey, we're just going to pay you less money to do the same job this year, which obviously is kind of like spitting in his face. But either way, yeah, Zeke delivered. PPR pick 2, Montgomery, Olave, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, James Cook. If I'm picking 2 of those 5 anonymous, it's probably Olave and Montgomery as of right now, considering Nico Collins, Puka Nacua implicated weather games that are going to be rough. I do prefer Montgomery over Cook, despite the fact that Cook has had 12 targets, 9 receptions in the last 2 games. Pretty good numbers there overall, but I still would take the Montgomery upside revenge game potential there. Okay, we took care of that. All right, let me see here. Is there any other plays that I like off of first glance? What else do we have here? There are no Cleveland Browns offensive plays, huh? Damn, they already have Joe Flacco assumed to be the starter. Maybe they already announced it earlier today, but what is he at? 30.5 passing attempts? I have to think about that number for a while. What is his reception count at? 2.5 still? Okay, interesting. What is Amari Cooper at? 3.5 receptions? Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me right now? Oh my gosh. What is that? 3.5? Dude, he had He had literally 2 receptions on the first drive of last week. Like, I don't even, okay, thank you very much. Keep it moving. Who's another player? I mean, I feel like 15 and a half rushing attempts. There's more Chase Brown than we probably would like. We're going to have to wait on that. I got to look at that number a little bit more. Let me just keep it scrolling. Let's see what else we have here. Did they really elevate Mason Crosby? All right, Mason Crosby. Here we go. The Rams, they got themselves a new kicker for the second time this year. All right, let me see here. Catching up on some of the chat. Tim P says, Mr. Kirchhoff, would you start full PPR Keaton Mitchell, CEH, DJ Chark, or Jalen Hyatt? I don't like any of those wide receivers. If it's me between those two, I'd play CEH. Or sorry, between those 4, I'd play CEH. National Championship rush is Henry playing against Miami. That's what's worrying me. Yeah, no, trust me. It worries me as well. I have him outside of my top 12 rankings, but it's tough to not play him, especially considering how well he's played as late. I mean, like, there's nothing to say that he can't break off a big run and make a play, or, you know, somehow a fumble occurs and they're on the 1 yard line and boom, he punches it in and he's able to score 15 points. There's always the potential there. Big Ham says Guillotine Lee, flex, Jamar Chase, Zach Moss, ETN, DK Metcalf, or Adams. I mean, who you're playing in the flex spot? I mean, I'd play Jamar Chase there. It's kind of hard not to. Let's see here. Thoughts on Keaton Mitchell with the weather? I think it's even better for him because running the ball would be an even more, you know, I guess prioritized approach for that offense, considering how well their offensive line has played. Mike Evans or Stephon Diggs full PPR? I'll take Mike Evans there. Let's see here. Jaden Reed, Aaron Jones, Keaton Mitchell, PPR. I'd rather play Jaden Reed in that group. Number 1, Keaton Mitchell. 2, Aaron Jones. 3, Dobbs or her. So here would be my suggestion, Jayhawk or H-Jock. Considering Aaron Jones, even if he plays, will be limited, it's probably just not worth playing him. But you can wait till Monday, and if you want to play him, you can kind of pivot him or Jaden Reed in a PPR. Herbert or Dobbs. I'd rather play Dobbs there. Pollard or Mitchell. Yeah, it's 100% Pollard. If weather improves in New York, do I go Nico Collins over Gibbs? Ooh. Would I play a wide receiver that against? Yes. If the weather's better, I would play him over Gibbs. Yes. Okay. Let me see if I can find any other plays here that I like. What is Keaton Mitchell's numbers at anyway? What is he at? 46.5 rushing yards. 10.5 receiving yards. Okay, those are not terrible numbers, but they're not the best. Where's Chuba Hubbard? Does he have a rushing attempt total? No. I'll take this going higher. What else we have? Justin Jefferson numbers are looking fine. 7 targets. Ha 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 ha. Got him. A reminder. Okay, just so that we're all on the same page, okay? For TJ Hawkinson, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the stats so we're all on the same page here. Let me look at his entire... Okay, here we go. So since becoming a member of the Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hawkinson has had 7 or more targets in... Oh, God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15... In 15 of the last 17 games, he's gone for over 7 targets. I'll take that number. Okay, these are the 3 players that I like. I'll take these 3. Boom, bang, bop. We'll send it. Okay, now that I've done that, I'll go ahead and transition back. We'll answer a couple more questions, and then we'll go ahead and close out today's live stream. I do appreciate y'all supporting thus far today by clicking the like button, asking questions in the chat, sending in super chats. For those of you guys who have checked out Underdog Fantasy using code Andrew, and of course, signing up, making that first time deposit minimum of $10. Again, I greatly appreciate all the support. Those rankings will be sent tomorrow morning. I'd say around 2:30, 3 a.m. Typically is when I'm up and I finalize rankings, send those out. I take a nice 2-hour nap, and then I'm back to live streaming tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If I wasn't able to answer your question directly today, or I said, hey, you know what, I got to think about that question, I'll most likely have a better indication as to where I'm going in terms of those questions by tomorrow morning. As I'll have rankings on screen up to date for my top 36 running backs, top 36 wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, tight ends, top 12 kickers and defenses. So keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Vowed on Film. Thank you very much, Vowed. Appreciate it. It says, Andrew, I need a starting lineup advice in a full PPR. 4th place, clinched the playoffs, 3 losses in a row. 4th place, clinched playoffs with 3 losses in a row. That's crazy. Mahomes, Lamb, Puka, Javonte Williams, Brees Hall, Njoku, Reed, Ridley, Addison, Pierce, McKinnon, McPherson. Okay. Lineup advice. So Lamb has to play. Mahomes, I mean, that's your best quarterback, so there's not even really a question there. Puka Nacua, Javonte Williams, Brees Hall, Njoku. You have Ridley, Reed. Okay, so here's my primary suggestion here. If by tomorrow, if the weather in in Baltimore is a monsoon and it's a disaster and it's 20-mile-per-hour winds with heavy rain, you would probably switch out Puka Nacua and play Jaden Reed in his stead. Outside of that, I probably don't make any other changes. And you're good to go there, Val. Thank you. Sly the Panda says flex Edwards, Madison, or Noah Brown. Edwards as of right now. Swift CH or Mitchell in a PPR. I'd probably play Swift there for right now. Damari. Frank Nitty says Cooks or Olave. I'd rather play Olave there. Tim P says Singletary, CH, Mitchell. I'll take CH there. ECKZ says PPR pick 2, Swift, Brees Hall, London, McKinnon. Swift, Brees Hall, London. Yeah, if I'm picking 2 of those 4, I play Swift in London. Thank you. Also, would you go with Gerald Everett or Brevin Jordan? I'd go with Gerald Everett for now. Better matchup, better weather, better pizza, Papa John's. Moving on. Will Mahomes be a top 3 drafted quarterback next year? It depends. It 100% is going to depend on what their offseason kind of signings, draft position, everything is going to play into that overall factor. For now, I would say that there's a very high likelihood that this team addresses the wide receiver position next year in terms of free agency, especially with, Travis Kelce next season is going to be 35. They're going to need to go ahead and address a lot of positional receiving needs. I would assume that they address it, whether it's free agency and or with draft picks and hopefully early ones, to the point to where they can set up Mahomes for the future. But yeah, it'll all depend on what they surround him with. Let's see here. Would you go with Texans or Packers this week? I grabbed both. Packers against the Giants or Texans against the Jets. I'd rather play the Texans this week. Lethal. Let's see here. Michael Lewis says likely or Kraft. If the weather's bad in Baltimore, I'd play Kraft on Monday. Thoughts on Dobbs now with Jefferson back? Should be a great play. Of course, as long as he continues to run the ball, he's always going to be relevant for fantasy. Let's see here. Goff or Baker considering weather for Goff. How bad is the weather in Chicago? Let me check here. The weather in Chicago is 36 degrees, 10% chance of rain. But is there anything outside of that? Let me see if I can get a... Let me see if I can get any other indication on that. It says 12-mile-per-hour winds. No, I'm okay with Goff. With the alternative that you mentioned, though, where is it? Where did the question go? Why have I lost it? Control F. Oh, it's right here. Goff or Baker? Yeah, I'm still playing Goff there. Atlanta missing top cornerback? Yeah, I know that. That's why I'm playing Mike Evans everywhere I can. Cleveland defense or Green Bay defense? I'd rather play Green Bay's this week. Schultz or Likely? Schultz is out this week. I'd rather play Likely in his stead, because of course he's not playing. Let's see here. Full PP. Okay, Valid on Film says, who do I start at running back and in flex? I mean, your running backs, you only have 3 of them, so I'm leaving in Javonte Williams and Brees Hall, Lamb and Rid. So let's say, for example, it's Mahomes, Lamb, Puka, Javonte, Hall, Njoku. You have the pivoting option of Puka going to Reed, but the flex position would probably be Dameon Pierce there. Thank you. James sends in a question, says standard scoring league. Need 2 wide receivers to start. Okay, out of these 3, we have Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown. In a standard scoring format. Jeez. I'd still play Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I would still play Keenan Allen. Yeah, it's kind of hard not to play them both. I know that Deebo Samuel, 3 of the last 4 games with a rushing touchdown? That is very intriguing. But I think that these other guys are just as capable of scoring touchdowns, at least in terms of what they've done or presented thus far. You watching the Lakers-Pacers game? Yep, I will be watching that. That's why in about 2 minutes here, we're closing out today's stream. When does the game start anyway? Game starts at 5:30 p.m., so we got a couple hours. But yeah, it should be fun. I'm gonna have it on my third monitor as I, do fantasy rankings for tomorrow morning. But yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on it. Let's see here. Brandon Cooks or Breece Hall? I'd rather play Brandon Cooks this week. Honestly, especially in a half PPR. Goff on the road, not such a slam dunk. I mean, look, not such a slam. I mean, go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game earlier this season. Am I crazy? Like, I feel like Goff has played well on the road this season. It's not like he doesn't play well. Like if I look at this season, right, and I look at his away games, New Orleans last week, right, 213 and 2 touchdowns, pretty solid week. Against the Los Angeles Chargers, 333, 2 touchdowns. Against Baltimore, obviously not a great game, but I mean, as an offense, they just fell apart completely, right? Against Tampa Bay earlier this season, 353 and 2 touchdowns. Against Green Bay this season on the road, was that Thursday game in which David Montgomery scored 3 rushing touchdowns and had 33 rushing attempts. Obviously, he only had 1 touchdown in the game, but okay, it's fine. 210 in a touchdown. And then against Kansas City week 1, 253 in a touchdown. I would say more often than not, actually, was this 1, 2, 3, 4? 4 of the 6 games he's played on the road this season, he's had solid weeks. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's not a slam dunk. I think this narrative of Jared Goff on the road, it could have worked on me in seasons past because there were far more numbers that kind of lean towards the idea of, yes, we can't trust him on the road. But I think this season, this offense has played significantly better, and so has Jared Goff. And that's primarily why they've played better, is because Jared Goff really has elevated them. Kevin says Stafford, Dobbs, or Browning. I'd rather play Dobbs number 1, Browning number 2, Stafford number 3. Bijan or Edwards? I'd rather play Bijan there. Reed, Myers, or Ridley? I'd rather play Reed there. Schultz likely rest the season. Didn't realize he was out this week. Haha. Schultz or likely rest the season? I'd rather play Schultz, especially with Tank Dell gone. Goff doesn't play well in cold weather games. No, I know that, but I mean, look, if we're comparing Goff to Baker Mayfield, I mean, look, if you want to play Baker, be my guest. I'm playing Goff this week. There's a lot of quarterbacks that don't play well in cold weather games. Luckily, the Detroit Lions are just a significantly better team than the Chicago Bears defense, and it's just really not going to be it's not going to be as competitive as it was last time out. Okay, get banned real quick. Boom, you're gone. Okay, guys. What does that say? CEH or McKinnon? Frank, I'll take CEH there. Godwin or Jaden Reed? I'd probably lead towards Godwin there slightly. Let's hear. Good. We're good to go. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. If you guys want my rankings, be sure to check out Underdog. The rankings will be sent out if you sign up using code Andrew. Make a first-time deposit minimum of $10 between now and midnight. For those of you who have already signed up in the past, of course, you get that every Sunday. But if you want those rankings, be sure to go ahead and do it before midnight. Greatly appreciate y'all. You can also scan the QR code to the left side of the screen. All you got to do is make sure that you're eligible via the map to the left side of the screen, because that's pretty much the determining factor as to whether or not, based on your location, you are eligible to do so. Of course, whether you're age, eligible, all that kind of jazz. Do it responsibly. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cue the music of Double Helix, and I'm going to go ahead and go watch the Laker game in a bit. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow morning. Peace.